You are sitting in traffic right now, not literally, but statistically, if you live in a major city, you will spend 54 hours this year staring at brake lights. That is more than 2 full days of your life gone, watching a bumper. And here is the uncomfortable part. We have known how to fix this for almost 50 years. The solution is not more roads. It is not better public transit. It is not flying cars or hyperloops or whatever tech billionaires are promising this quarter. It is a policy so simple that most economists agree on it. And economists agree on almost nothing. The solution is also deeply unpopular. Politicians avoid it. Voters reject it. Even people who understand it often hate it, because the answer to traffic is this: charge people to drive. Before you click away, stay with me, because this is not a story about punishing drivers. This is a story about one of the most elegant economic fixes ever designed, why it actually works, and why almost no city has the courage to use it. Traffic is not just annoying, it is expensive, in ways most people never calculate. The American economy loses roughly $87 billion every year to congestion. That is wasted fuel. That is missed meetings. That is delivery trucks sitting idle, their cargo depreciating. That is nurses late to shifts. Construction workers billing hours they cannot work. Parents missing their kids' school plays. And that number only captures the direct costs. When you zoom out, traffic shapes where businesses locate, which neighborhoods thrive, how much pollution we breathe, and how cities grow. Traffic is not a minor inconvenience. It is an invisible tax on everything. So if it costs this much, why have we not fixed it? The answer is surprisingly simple. Roads are free, and when something valuable is free, people use too much of it. Think about it like this. Imagine a popular restaurant that never charges for meals. No cover, no bill. Just walk in, eat what you want, leave whenever. What happens? Lines out the door, packed tables, 2-hour waits for a seat, people ordering food they will not finish because why not? It is free. The restaurant becomes unusable precisely because it costs nothing to use. This is not a metaphor. This is exactly what happens on roads during rush hour. When you drive onto a highway at 8 in the morning, you pay nothing, but you create a cost. You add one more car to a system already at capacity. You slow down everyone behind you by a few seconds. Multiply that by thousands of cars, and those seconds become hours. Economists call this a negative externality. You do not pay the cost you create. Everyone else does. And because no one pays for it directly, the cost becomes invisible, until you are sitting in traffic wondering why this keeps happening. The fix is almost embarrassingly straightforward. Make people pay. In 1975, a small island nation ran an experiment. Singapore had a problem. The city was growing fast. Cars were flooding the streets, and unlike Los Angeles or Houston, Singapore had no room to expand. Every inch of land was precious. Building more highways was not an option, so they did something radical. They charged drivers to enter the busiest areas during peak hours. The system was crude at first. Paper permits, windshield stickers, manual checkpoints, but it worked. Traffic dropped almost immediately, speeds increased, buses moved faster, businesses that depended on deliveries saw costs fall. Other cities watched, and most of them did nothing. Until London. In 2003, London introduced a congestion charge. £8 to drive into central London during weekday hours. Critics predicted chaos. Businesses swore they would flee. Tabloids ran apocalyptic headlines. Here is what actually happened. Traffic fell by roughly 15%. Bus ridership surged. Average driving speeds increased by 30%. Air quality improved. And the money generated hundreds of millions of pounds annually went directly back into public transit. The city did not collapse, it breathed. But the most revealing experiment happened in Stockholm. In 2006, Stockholm ran a trial. Congestion pricing for 7 months, just a test. Before the trial, polls showed 2/3 of residents opposed it. People hated the idea. It felt like a tax. It felt unfair. It felt like the government punishing them for driving. The trial ran anyway. And something strange happened. Traffic dropped by 20%. Commute times fell. Air pollution measurably declined. People who had to drive found roads faster. People who did not have to drive found alternatives. The system adjusted. When the trial ended, they held a referendum, and Stockholm voted to keep it. Public opinion had flipped. Not because of any campaign, not because politicians gave better speeches, because people experienced the alternative. They saw what their city looked like without gridlock, and they did not want to go back. This is the part that economists find fascinating. Congestion pricing is one of the rare policies that becomes more popular after implementation. People hate the idea, but they like the reality. Now, here is where the math gets uncomfortable. For decades, cities tried to solve traffic by building more roads. The logic seemed obvious. More lanes mean more space. More space means less congestion. But that is not what happens. Traffic engineers have a term for this: induced demand. When you build a new lane on a highway, you make driving slightly faster. That sounds good. But faster driving attracts more drivers. People who took the bus now drive. People who left at 7 now leave at 8. People who avoided that route now use it. Within a few years, the new lane is just as congested as the old ones. You cannot build your way out of traffic. Every city that has tried has learned this lesson. Houston widened the Katy Freeway to 26 lanes. It is now one of the most congested highways in America. Los Angeles has been adding lanes for decades. Traffic keeps getting worse. Building more roads for traffic is like loosening your belt to cure obesity. It addresses the symptom while accelerating the problem. Congestion pricing does the opposite. It addresses the actual mechanism. The reason roads fill up is that they are free. Charge the correct price and demand adjusts. The road finds its natural capacity. So if this works so well, why is it not everywhere? Because charging for roads feels different than charging for everything else. We pay for electricity, we pay for water, we pay for groceries, streaming services, parking, train tickets, airplane seats. Nobody riots over the price of coffee. But roads feel like a right. They feel like something the public owns, and charging for them feels like a betrayal. There is also a class dimension that politicians understand instinctively. The first objection is always the same. What about poor people? Are you going to price them off the roads while rich people drive freely? It is a fair question, and it has a fair answer. Congestion pricing generates money, a lot of money. That money can fund buses that serve low-income neighborhoods. It can subsidize transit passes. It can build bike lanes and sidewalks. The people who cannot afford to drive benefit most when the alternatives improve. But try explaining that in a campaign ad. The politics of loss aversion are brutal. People feel losses more intensely than gains. Paying $8 to enter a city center feels like a loss. Saving 20 minutes on your commute feels like nothing. Even if the math favors you, the emotion does not. New York City has been trying to implement congestion pricing for years. The plan is ready, the infrastructure exists, the economics are clear, and it keeps getting delayed, blocked, watered down, caught in political limbo. Meanwhile, the average New Yorker spends over 100 hours per year in traffic. The MTA is starving for funding. Emissions keep climbing. Everyone agrees something must be done. Just not that. This is the paradox at the heart of modern governance. We know what works. We have proof, we have data, we have 50 years of examples from 3 continents, and we keep sitting in traffic anyway. Here is the question no one wants to answer. If the solution is this obvious, if the evidence is this clear, if cities that try it end up grateful, they did, what does it mean that we cannot do it? Maybe traffic is not really an engineering problem. Maybe it never was. Maybe traffic is what happens when a society cannot agree to price what it values. When politics defeats economics. When the fear of change outweighs the cost of stagnation. Every morning, millions of people sit in their cars, burning fuel, burning time, wondering why it has to be this way. The answer is sitting right in front of them. They just do not want to pay for it.